One morning, he got up real early before daybreak. Could have been about 4 a.m., 3 a.m. And the disciples were on a boat. And here come Jesus. He said, you know, in the beginning, I divided the firmament from the firmament. I created condensation. I let it rain. I messed with Pharaoh's water, turned it into blood. I floated the axe on water. I stayed in Mary's headwater for 9 months. Then I was born as Jesus Christ. And my first miracle was to turn water into wine. But this morning, I don't feel like messing with water. I'm going to walk on it. So he walks on water going to Peter. Peter sees this deed, this awesome experience of defying gravity. He said, Lord, if it's you, bid me come. Jesus said, it's so good out here. Come. Because what he was getting ready to do was teach 11 disciples a lesson that one disciple had to take the risk for them to learn. Because don't forget now, Peter stood up and was ready to leave the boat to go to Jesus, but 11 disciples were like Jamaicans. They say, it's a duppy. And Jesus couldn't get them to come to him because of their thinking. Touch your neighbor, say, what you thinking? Because oftentimes it's what you think that stops your miracle. Oh, I feel this thing in here. You ought not to look at who's with you, who's beside you, who's next to you, who came by you, and look straight to Jesus, and whatever he says, do it. Because everything you need is inside of you. Touch somebody and tell them, you ain't got my stuff. I got my stuff. I got what it takes to get up and walk away from all of y'all doubting people and do what God tells me to do. This water that he's been playing with all through time is going to come out of his side on Calvary along with the blood. I want to show you something here. The disciples were whispering, he know who she is. Come in here, washing my Lord's feet. Church people like to protect God from other people. Oh, I'm going to preach in here if it make you mad. Church people just love. Aren't you glad you just got away from that mess that is so holy? They try to stop you and tell you what you can't do with God because you ain't ready and you ain't holy and you better go clean yourself up and then come to God. If I got to go clean myself up before I come to God, I don't need God. Why do I need God if I got to go clean myself up? I came with my messed up self for him. They saw, because God don't see people the way we see people. And I'm going to tell you what they saw, then I'm going to tell you what God saw. I'm up in the sky now, in case you didn't notice. We looping around now. We 39,000, so fold your tray tables and tighten your seatbelts. They saw a prostitute wrapped in worship. And they didn't like that. She come in here, talk about she crying. and all that expensive perfume, putting it on Jesus. You ain't nothing but a prostitute wrapped up in worship. And Jesus saw what they saw, but looked at what he made. Because I'm going to tell you exactly what happened right here. Can I show you the truth of this text? For years, preachers preached to you that this woman was nothing but a prostitute. But I got a word from God for you today, and I want you to watch this. They saw a prostitute, stand up, my brother, wrapped in worship. So what they were saying in their minds is, Jesus, if you move that worship, you'll see that prostitution. Then you'll know who you messing with. Touching you, talk about you a prophet. But I'm going to tell you what Jesus saw while looking at the same thing they were looking on. He saw worship wrapped in prostitution.
Hallelujah.
You didn't get that. All right, let me break it down some more for you. Somebody holler, break it, Pastor, break it. They saw a prostitute wrapped in worship, but he saw a worshiper wrapped in prostitution. So now why is she crying? She's crying because he unwrapped her. Oh God, some of you didn't get it, so I got to work right here. I got to work. Can I show you this? Sit down. Y'all gonna make me preach. Sit down. Let me watch this. Oftentimes, people believe they are what they have done. And you're not what you do. I'll show you the difference. When you were 20, there were some things you were doing that you would never do now. But while you were 20, you saw yourself as what you did. Wrong. That was life happening to you. But now that you're 40, 50, you say, wait a minute, I don't do that no more. Why? You have grown. And you have grown into who you really are. Now, if at 40 and 50, you're still doing what you did at 20, that's who you are. Oh, God, I wish I could preach this thing. I wish I slap somebody high five and tell them, that ain't me, that ain't me, that ain't me. That ain't me, that ain't me, that is not me. I don't do that junk no more. I'm a child of God. I walked away from it, and now I can worship God in the beauty of holy. For you were created for worship. But church people, religious people, look at you from what you have done. But when you come to church, God sees you for who you are. And deep down inside of you, you know you don't want to do this mess no more. Because you feel the touch of hands so warm and tender, protecting you from the mouth of disciples who are saying, God, you don't know who she is? Yes, I do. I was sitting at the side of the bed when she was doing what she was doing. Lord, you going to let her use her hair that all men has woven their hands through to dry your feet? Yes, I am. He let a prostitute dry his feet with her hair. He let a prostitute. Can I tell you something? Spikenard in those days took a year's salary to buy a whole box. You know what is a woman's most treasured stuff? Her perfume. Because if a woman clothes is raggedy but she smell good. I told you I study woman. No matter how raggedy her clothes is, if she smell good, she all right with me. And a box of spikenard was a year's salary. I want you to see what happened here. She's kneeling at his feet with a year's salary worth of perfume. Girlfriend, what you doing? You worked all year. What's your job? You're going to take a whole year's salary and wash this man's feet? Yes, because what I bring is not what I've done. I brought who I am. And for every bed I jumped in, I'm going to wash his feet with the money I made all year long. Because, Lord, I come to you, and what I bring is inside of me. And so it was easy for Jesus to forgive her because she had weighed herself in the balance and found herself wanting. Hey, 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 hey. Don't look at me like that, because what I have brought is inside of me.